Hey! Happy New Year and welcome back to my channel. My name is Emma, aka Midsummerknits, and I make videos about knitting and fiber arts content. As you have seen from this giant pile of clothes, as well as the title of this video, I'm going to be showing you guys everything that I made in the year 2023. I always absolutely love to watch these types of videos, so this is also one of my favorite videos to film. It's just really exciting for me to take the time to reflect on my past year. I always think this is a really fun journey through the past year of my knitting and just seeing everything that I've been up to, the progress that I've made in terms of myself as a knitter, and all the different things that I've made for my wardrobe. Before we get started, if you're not subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel as well as clicked the bell notification to be notified when I post YouTube videos. This year, I think I will be posting videos every other week. My schedule is a little bit in limbo right now just because I'm trying to figure out my relationship with knitting and content creation and having enough time for the other things that I want to do in my life. But what I'm planning to do this year is posting every other week instead of every week just to have a little bit more balance. So make sure you click the bell notification to see when I actually post videos. Before we get started, I also want to give a disclaimer, which I think I will be giving every single time I film a what I knit in the past year video, which is that I am not the fastest or most productive knitter in the entire world. I actually had fewer FOs this year than I had last year, which in comparison to a lot of my knitting friends and knitting podcasters that I watch is not a ton of FOs. I finished 6 FOs this year, and then I have 2 works in progress that are somewhat close to becoming FOs, which I will also be showing you guys. But I feel like a lot of the knitting podcasters that I watch, when they do these things that I made in 2023 videos, they have like 15 FOs to show you guys, and I'm just gonna be upfront and say that I don't have that number of FOs. I think that's totally fine. I am really trying to get past the current mindset that I have had, which has been a lot of comparison of my knitting to other people's knitting, comparison of my level of productivity and the number of things that I've been able to finish. I feel like that has kind of been a motif on my YouTube channel where I've kind of come back to this conversation over and over again of comparison, of feeling like you are not the fastest knitter and not the most productive knitter, and realizing that that is okay. That is not something that you have to do. It's really okay if you're not pumping out the number of FOs that you see other people pumping out. Obviously, I think it's really impressive when I do see people that are finishing things very quickly. I really admire that quality, but at the same time, I think it's okay to realize that knitting is meant to be a slower mode of fashion. It's also meant to be a hobby where you are enjoying making the things that you're making, and so spending so much time focusing on the number of things that you're able to get done in a certain amount of time, to me, is just not worth the stress, and I'm really trying to kind of get past that mindset. So I do just want to give that disclaimer and tell you guys that I am here to normalize being a little bit of a slower knitter, because at least compared to the other podcasters that I see, I am a little bit of a slower knitter. With all of the introductions out of the way, let's get into the things I actually made this year. So we're gonna be going in chronological order here, which means that the first thing I finished this year was my second groovy tank. I feel like this is a little bit of a tricky topic for my YouTube channel because this groovy tank is the first garment I've ever designed, and I posted about it a good bit on my YouTube channel or mentioned it in a lot of videos, and people have really been asking me for this pattern. The truth is, I am not sure when this pattern is going to come out just because I've decided to focus more on a different pattern, the second FO that I'm going to be showing you. I've decided to focus more on putting that out first because it is a little bit of an easier design. So I just want to tell you guys up front that I'm not sure when this pattern is going to be coming out, but this is the first thing that I knit in 2023. I knit a second one of these. My first one was a kind of like purple indigo color, and I wanted to make a second one because honestly the first time I made this pattern I didn't really take the best notes and I didn't really know what I had done when I went back to try and write up the pattern. So with the second one I was able to write a lot more notes and kind of figure out what the pattern should be, at least for my size, which was super helpful. As you can see, first of all, this is made in fingering weight yarn. The entire thing is ribbing and it's knit on size 1 needles. So at least for me, an English style knitter and someone who is not like the speediest knitter ever, this is a very time intensive project. It has this cool design on the bust where it has this kind of like leafy look, and I think this is a really cool design. I am still hoping to get this out eventually, but it's just not my top priority right now. For my second FO of the year, this is my second design that I previously mentioned. It is the Heartless top. This is a tank top that has a heart cut out on the bust, and otherwise I feel like it is a relatively simple, straightforward tank top. It is knit from the top down. It has, if I do say so myself, a lot of nice detailing. First of all, it has this folded over neckline with ribbing. It has this really nice edging on the armholes, which is double knit, so it's going to lay super flat and just look really seamless with the rest of the piece. And then it also has a folded hem at the bottom. All these details in my mind elevate this tank top a little bit more beyond if I had just decided to do slightly simpler finishes, for example, ribbing on all of the different cuffs. I wanted to really put some attention to detail on this piece beyond just the heart cutout, which I think is really cool. I'm so happy with how this design came out, and I'm really excited to try and get this out. I actually do have the pattern basically completed, but I have sent it to a tech editor for grading, so I believe she's working on that right now, and I'm really hoping that I can put out a testing call in early January and hopefully get the pattern out around Valentine's Day. That is my goal. I don't know if it's gonna happen depending on how test knitting goes and if I need to allow my testers a bit more time to complete the tank top, but that is my goal at the moment. So keep an eye out on my channel and my Instagram and everything for information about that. But I'm super happy with how this came out. This is probably one of my favorite FOs this year. I think it's super cute when worn on its own, but it is also incredibly cute if you wear it on top of some sort of long-sleeved turtleneck or shirt, where it's just going to make it a little bit more modest, but still allows the design to really shine. I think that is super cute. My next piece that I made this year was the Luna tee. I think this is a really unique design, which is funny because it has relatively simple design elements, but I just haven't seen a ton of people make knitting designs that are this sort of style. So basically it is a mock neck tank top with these slightly longer short sleeves, and then it has a broken rib throughout and this very nice raglan design going down the yoke. And as mentioned, this is a relatively simple design, but I really enjoyed making it. I think this is probably like in the top 2 most worn knits that I completed this year, just because it's super wearable, it's super cute. I like the simplicity of the design, and I honestly really enjoyed making it as well. I think the fact that it is a broken rib as opposed to an actual normal rib actually makes it go so much more quickly because you're only ribbing every other row and then you're knitting straight every other row as well. So this one was a lot of fun to make and is a lot of fun to wear as well. So we're about midway through the year when it comes to my knits, and up next we have a piece that I think has a really funny backstory. So if you guys aren't aware of every piece of lore in my life, which is totally understandable, but if you haven't already watched several of my videos, you might not know this. I'm a super big Taylor Swift fan. I have been since around 2020, and something that I wanted to do this year was make something sort of Taylor inspired or Taylor themed, specifically because I wanted to make something when I went to the Eras tour that I could wear that I had actually created myself. And so with that in mind, I wanted to recreate Taylor Swift's green folklore dress, which she wears during some of the Eras tour performances. And so I decided that I wanted to recreate it in a tank version because I didn't want to knit an actual dress. And that is what inspired this piece. I'm actually not going to try it on for you guys like I've been trying on the rest of the pieces, so I'll just insert some old footage of me wearing it, because, fun fact about this piece, I cannot get this on without having someone help me take it off. Now, I'll be honest, I actually don't think that was too much of a disadvantage when it came to actually wearing my costume, just because obviously when I went to the Eras tour, I went with friends, I had people who could help me take it off, and it's not too terribly difficult to take off if I have someone help me. I really just have to have someone help me like get it over my shoulders. But this was a serious labor of love. I made it over the course of about a month, which is kind of insane to me in retrospect. Like, I don't know how I was able to finish this in a month. First of all, I had to start off by making like the base tank top, which I kind of modified from an existing pattern. And I also did some intarsia in here to have this like slightly more sheer panel, which I don't think ended up being the most noticeable. I wanted to do this because Taylor's version also has a sheer panel in the middle, and I wanted mine to look somewhat like hers. I don't think that the panel came out super great, but it is what it is. And then once I had completed the base tank top, I then had to make all of these leaves. I think I made like 40 or 50 leaves, and then seam them together and seam them onto the tank top. So this was seriously a labor of love, and I don't know if I would have done this for anyone other than Taylor Swift, because why would I? However, I am so overjoyed with how this came out. This is like the coolest thing that I feel like I might have made. Obviously, I'm not going to get a ton of rewear out of this. I can't really see myself wearing it like out in public at any point, unless maybe I wear it for a costume or something. I could totally see myself wearing this for like maybe some sort of Halloween costume. I could do like Poison Ivy or something. But basically I haven't reworn this since I actually went to the concert, which is totally fine. Like, I didn't intend for it to be anything other than something to wear to the concert. So although this is one of the coolest things I think I've ever made, I don't know how much wear it's going to get in the future, but I really love how it came out, and I think it came out super, super cool. And I got a ton of compliments on it at my concert as well. Up next, we actually have my only non-garment FO of this year, which are my Midnight Dancer socks. I really like this design. I feel like it's a very simple sock design, aside from the fact that it has this super cute ruffle. And honestly, I'll probably make another pair of these in the future. I think they're just a really fun, versatile design. I wanted to do this design because I wanted to use up this yarn that I have. It is this nice variegated yarn from Arcane Fiberworks. I believe the colorway is called Spirit of Spring. And I just wanted a relatively simple sock design that I could use that would allow the color to shine through a little bit. So I wanted to do these ruffled socks. I honestly thought that I would get more wear out of these than I do. I really only want to wear these in a situation where they're going to be seen, which is like if I'm wearing a skirt with some loafers or something. That's kind of like the use case where I would want to be wearing these. But honestly, I don't wear skirts as much as I would hope to in San Francisco, just because I do get a little bit chilly when I wear a skirt usually. So to be totally honest, I haven't gotten as much wear out of these as I hoped for, but I do think they're really cute. I can definitely see myself knitting another pair of these in the future, especially in a solid color, because I think I would really like how they look in a solid color such as white as well. And maybe someday I'll live somewhere where I'll be able to get more wear out of these, but I do think they're super cute. Oh, okay, let's keep it pushing. We are getting closer to the end of the year, and the truth is, towards the end of this year, I went through a pretty bad knitting slump. I did talk about this in my recent podcast episode where I talked about changes to my channel and kind of like recent thoughts on knitting. And I feel like part of the reason for this is that I have been pushing myself really hard this year to sort of treat knitting as a side hustle or as a second job. I feel like a lot of my free time, I have really been pushing myself to be doing knitting every second of my free time. I just feel like that's not sustainable, especially if I am thinking about it as sort of an obligation as opposed to something that I really enjoy and really look forward to. So I feel like I went through a little bit of a rough patch when it came to knitting, and I didn't really do a ton of knitting closer to the end of the year. So a couple of things to show you guys. The first one is kind of a funny story. It is my Moby sweater. This is a funny story because I actually basically finished the sweater in spring of this year. However, there were a couple of things that I didn't really love about the sweater. First off, when I first started making the sweater, I wanted it to be an oversized sweater. I feel like I have had it in my mind for so long that I need to knit myself an oversized sweater because I just don't really have too many oversized pieces of clothing in my closet. And I feel like having, especially a hand knit sweater that is oversized, would be really nice. I feel like I would get a lot of wear out of it. It would just be like really big and cozy, and I'd be able to wear it for a lot more like casual outfits. And so I'd been wanting to have an oversized sweater in my closet for quite a while. So when I cast this on, I did just cast on the smallest size, but I believe it was meant to be a few inches of positive ease on me based off of the measurements and the gauge that I got. So I wanted it to be oversized, and with that in mind, I basically knit the entire sweater. I did try it on a few times, but I feel like when you're making a sweater, especially if you've never really knit yourself an oversized sweater before, it's not always easy to gauge like how oversized something is on you until you're almost completely done with it. I did try it on when I had the body somewhat done, and I could tell there were a couple of inches of space like between my body and the sweater, but it was hard for me to tell like how oversized it would look when I actually completed it. So basically, long story short, I completed the sweater and I realized it was really not that oversized. There were maybe a couple of inches of positive ease, as I mentioned, but I feel like that doesn't make it look oversized. You really need several inches of positive ease to have like an oversized sweater. So with that in mind, I had knit the sweater a little bit longer than I usually would. You might be able to tell from the try-on clips that I've already been showing, but I do tend to make a lot more cropped things just because that's kind of what I like to wear. That's what fits in with the rest of my wardrobe. And so a lot of my clothing is cropped. And with the sweater, I decided to just knit it to like a normal length because I wanted it to be oversized and cozy, like I mentioned. And I realized when I had basically finished the sweater that I just didn't really like the fit of it. I feel like in my mind, in terms of how I like to wear my sweaters and my clothing, I felt like it was just awkwardly long for how fitted it was. It was just kind of like long and skinny as opposed to long and big, which is what I wanted. So I decided that I wanted to rip back a little bit and make this one a lot more cropped, kind of lean into the more fitted look, which I had been achieving already. And that's what I did. I ended up spending a few weeks on this towards the end of the year, just ripping back a lot of the ribbing as well as some of the cables here, and then redoing the ribbing and the bind off to actually complete the sweater. And I'll be honest, I am really, really happy with how this came out. Ever since I actually cropped the sweater, I've gotten so much wear out of it. I've literally worn it multiple times in the like month or so since I finished it. I actually like wore this 2 days ago as well. It has been such a staple in my closet, but that being said, I still really do want an oversized sweater in my closet as well, but I am happy to have a nice fitted cabled sweater as well. This is a gorgeous design and a really well done pattern, so I definitely recommend the Moby sweater to anyone who is looking for a cabled sweater pattern. For me, it was also a bit of a slow moving one. They're just, I feel like with a cabled sweater, you just need to expect that it's going to take a long time, and I did not really have the right expectations in my mind for how long it would take. In my mind, I was like, oh, I'll be done in a month, and that definitely did not happen. So I definitely need to be a little more realistic with myself, but I do really love this design, and I definitely recommend it to anyone who is looking to make a cable sweater. Okay, to be honest with you guys, those are all of my FOs of 2023. I had 6 FOs, 1 of which were socks, the rest of which were garments. With that being said, I do have 2 more whips that I wanted to show you guys just because I'm almost done with them. I was really trying to pump one of these out before I actually made this video so I could share that I had 7 FOs, but it just didn't happen, and that's totally fine. It's actually January 1st today, so I'm a little bit late on filming this video. But the first one that I want to show you guys is a second heartless top. I am almost completely done with this. The last thing that I have to do is do the edging on the armholes, which is a little bit of a slower or more labor-intensive process because it is double knit. So that's why I kind of wasn't able to get to this before filming this video. Otherwise, it's a super cute light purple color. I really love this color. This is probably like my favorite color right now, and I'm really excited to finish this and just have a heartless top in a second color. I always really enjoy making my own designs in a couple of different colors. One of the reasons that I wanted to make a second one of these, first of all, I always think it's good to make a second version of your own designs just to like work out kinks with the pattern. But the reason that I really wanted to make a second one of these was because I wanted to film some tutorial videos for some of the techniques on this top, just because a couple of these finishing techniques like the folded over neckline and the I-cord edging around the heart, I thought were a little bit tricky, especially because I sort of like added in some small changes of my own that I like haven't seen other people post YouTube tutorials for exactly. So I just wanted to film a couple of tutorials for the finishing techniques, which I recently did, and we'll have to edit those together soon. But that was my main reason for wanting to make a second one, but I'm also really excited to have a second one in purple too. And my last little whip that I wanted to show you guys, I have recently started to get back into knitting socks a lot. Making socks is really nice for me right now because I do commute to work, which takes up like maybe an hour or so of my day, not all of which time I can actually knit because some of it is walking, but I do spend a good bit of time on the bus or the train on any given day, and so I like having a small product that I can do on the go, which is kind of like a normal sentiment for people, but I feel like I never really needed a project to do on the go until recently. So I've decided that I want to have 1 sock on the needles at all times if I can. I feel like there will occasionally be like periods of time where I just finish a sock and haven't started a new one, but I do want to really try and knit more socks in the coming year. So I recently just finished the first sock in this pair. These are the embossed leaves socks. My mom actually recommended this pattern to me, which is really funny because she said she'd knit these like many years ago. It was like her first project on Ravelry, which I thought was so funny. But I really like this design. It's just this really nice lace design that has leaves going down the sock, and it's really a pretty simple design, so I feel like you can memorize it within a couple of repeats. And then you don't need to be referencing the pattern constantly, which is really super nice when it comes to a sock pattern, but it still has enough visual interest that I think this is still a really fun and interesting sock design. So I just finished the first one of this pair and started on the second one. This is also using Arcane Fiberworks yarn because they sent me some yarn, and I'm really enjoying the process of making these. So that is it for my 2023 in knits. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I always have so much fun filming these, and I would love to hear what your favorite thing is that you made this year, and maybe some of the things that you're excited to make in 2024. I have the longest list of things that I want to make in 2024, but it's always fun to hear other people's inspiration as well, so I'd love to hear what you're planning to make next year. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Once again, if you liked this, you can always subscribe to me and turn on notifications, and I will see you next time. Bye!